and live stream to Council's Facebook and YouTube pages. I would ask everyone to please turn off all mobile phones to silent mode. Please be aware that a hearing loop is available in the Council chamber. Staff members are able to assist you at any time during the meeting. Please remain quiet in the gallery so that everyone can hear the meeting. Anyone disrupting the meeting may be asked to leave. I would also like to remind members of the public watching the live stream that a copy of the agenda and information explaining Council meetings can be found on the Council website. Tonight you will see that we have 1 report in open Council and 0 in closed Council, a transparency rate of 100%. I will be reading the prayer tonight, so I'd ask everyone to please be upstanding. Gracious God, we ask you to give your blessing to this Council, guiding us so that the decisions we make might truly be for the well-being of the people of the City of Casey. Amen. Thank you. Amen. Please be seated. The City of Casey acknowledges we're on the traditional land of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people, and we pay our respects to the elders past and present. Are there any apologies for this evening? I have an apology from Councillor Jackson, Councillor Aziz, Councillor Rowe and Councillor Saray. Any other apologies? I'd like to move a leave of absence for those 4 councillors for tonight, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Gillich. Any dissent? Then that is carried. Thank you. Does any councillor have a conflict of interest, either a conflict of interest or personal interest that they'd like to declare for tonight's meeting? No? There's only 1 report tonight, which is item 6.1. And I'll put that up on the screen. It's a fairly lengthy one, so I'm going to give all my colleagues a chance to read it page by page. About 3 pages. Is it different to what's in here? No, it's not different to what's in the agenda, but you can read it from your agenda, or I know you've already read it, but just for the sake of people in the gallery, we might run through slowly so that people can read it. All councillors satisfied that they've had ample time to understand the recommendation before you? If you had a question, you're seconding. I'll move it. Seconded by Councillor Stapleton. I just would like to talk briefly to the budget tonight. I and fellow councillors are proud to still be able to deliver a strong budget next financial year whilst facing some challenges. The 2018-19 $441.6 million annual budget features a $122.7 million capital works program, which funds much needed infrastructure for our new and growing communities and renews facilities in our established suburbs. A $318.9 million operating budget so Council can deliver important services to more than 327,000 residents who call Casey home, including waste management and child, youth and family services. A rate increase of 2.25% in line with the rate cap, with the waste charge rising by just $24, among the lowest increases of any Victorian council in light of the global recycling crisis. Despite the cumulative impact of rate capping and faster than forecast growth, this year we've still been able to continue our strong investment in the critical projects and high-level service delivery for our community. The budget funds the services, projects and initiatives outlined in our 2017 to 2021 Council Plan, which sets out how we plan to deliver on our ambitious vision to create Australia's most livable city. The Capital Works program funds much-needed infrastructure for our new and growing communities, including building 2 new family and community centres in the Calora and Ramley Springs estates, as well as improving facilities in our established suburbs, such as the development of a new soccer pavilion at Jack Thomas Reserve and significant upgrades at Sweeney Reserve. We're also continuing to invest in our digital transformation to make it easier for residents to do business with us, and so we can deliver smarter, simplified, streamlined business processes and technology to support Council's future operational needs. However, we cannot ignore that this year's budget offers a window into a difficult, challenging future. This is the first budget in which the cumulative pinch of rate capping is clear and impacting future decision-making. This budget represents Council reaching a tipping point where the future will be characterised by the increasingly difficult job of bridging the gap between the infrastructure and services of the community that the community expect and what Council can deliver to afford. And just on that, I want to point out to everyone here, and this is why councillors and council officers, particularly myself, again down at Parliament House last week, talking to David Hodgett, the Deputy Leader of the Liberal Party, that one of the fastest growing municipalities in Australia, the rate capping policy simply doesn't work. And there were people there from other councils who said, well, our new housing, the revenue and stamp duty, etc., pays for that gap. Well, our gap is $6 million this year, $12 million the next year, around the $24 million mark the year after, despite having a whole lot of new rates from new homes. So I did explain to Mr Hodgett along in other times to Labor politicians as well, that if the state government makes a policy that local councils will have consumer price index rate capping, then it is up to them to recognise the challenges that councils particularly like Casey, one of the fastest or #1 fastest growing council in Australia, needs assistance from them to make it work by them funding or co-funding projects with us each year to help make up that gap. Some other councils who were there on last week with Mr Hodgett said that their new rates were covering that gap. We're one of the few where it does not. And so this is one of the debates that we're going to have ongoing, or we will be having ongoing with the state government, whoever wins the state election, that you can't make a policy and put the burden on the local council and not allow us to supply the services and infrastructure and resources that our residents need. Our job, our core business is to create, with the help of officers, I might add, who do a magnificent job, is to create the best outcomes for residents. So without the support of whatever state government is in, we can't continue to do that the way we have been doing it, particularly in this budget before us, into the future, unless they understand the challenges that we face and step up to the plate and help us to deliver financially so their policy works for the citizens of Casey. This year, Council is balancing some priority areas and investing in our service planning and reviews and our internal systems to better set up to tackle the foreseeable challenges ahead, so we can deliver and meet the growing demands of a community tipped to exceed 500,000 residents by 2041. I commend the 2018-19 budget to the Chamber, but just before I do that, I do want to thank all my colleagues who have worked so hard on this budget with the meetings that we've had, all the officers involved, and many of them sitting up the back have put in endless hours, particularly of evenings, delivering what I consider as an outstanding budget, being in the fastest growing municipality in Australia. I also want a special thank you to Mr Andrew Davis, sitting over here on my left, our head financial officer, who has just done an amazing job. When all the meetings that we've sat, the hours and hours and the weekends that we gave up, the questions that we fired at him and Mr Mack sitting up the back and the Capital Works teams, they've been able to answer them on the spot and bring clarity to the budget and a real understanding that we are very confident as councillors, as a team with our officers, and particularly the acting CEO, Mr. Steve Dalton, we could not have delivered a better budget. So, having said that, did you want to say something?
When you're finished, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I won't ask for any dissent. Any questions or dissent?
No dissent.
No dissent. Are you aware? Well, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And look, can I just congratulate you? Are you aware, firstly, that we've been able to accommodate a couple of last-minute requests that were desperately needed? So, Mr. Mayor, on that, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank our acting CEO, Mr. Dalton, the directors and the officers. You've worked so hard, and I would love to thank my fellow councillors, because throughout this whole process, we have worked together collaboratively. We've identified the need, and in one particular project that I was so passionate about and really did need to deliver in this budget was the additional room for Marinda Park Learning and Community Centre, and we've achieved that. If we vote this in just a few moments, we will have achieved that, and that is a great outcome for a vastly growing community that has very diverse needs, and the centre are very desperately in need of that additional room. So could I please say thank you, because I know it was a real demand on their council officers. It was requiring the support of my fellow councillors, and I thank you one and all, and I thank Mr Davis in particular. I think you steer the way in terms of our budget every year with your wonderful team, and just wanted to say thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Stubble. Any other councillors wish to say anything? Councillor Flannery.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to congratulate the officers. You know, as my first, so a second year as a councillor, being on the outside looking in, I had no idea what to expect when I got in as a councillor. Now that I'm in here, I can see the hard work that's put in by all the officers and by the councillors, and the weekends as we spent many Saturdays going over the budget, many evenings going over the budget. The officers do an amazing job. In my 62 years of life, I've never seen a more professional team of operators, and I take my hat off to all the officers who put this budget together with the councillors' support, and to their fellow councillors. Not one argument, not one dissent on any issues. Everything went through, everything flowed. The officers tried to accommodate all the councillors for what they needed for their wards. I think that the outcome is that all the wards, the people of or the residents of all the wards will be appreciative of what we've done and what we're supplying to them. And we're trying to keep it under the budget, under the rate cap. I think we've done an outstanding job. But as I said to the officers, I couldn't be more proud of what you have done. And I congratulate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Any other councillors wishing to speak? Then before I put this to the vote, I would ask all my colleagues, to the CEO and all the officers in the room, and all those who aren't here who worked on the budget, a big round of applause. Thank you very much. So is there any dissent on the matter? Then I declare that carried. Thank you very much. My colleagues, we do have a briefing. I'm not sure whether... I now declare the meeting closed. We do have a budget, a briefing, sorry, not a budget, we just had that. We'll be in here?
Just have a few minutes break and we'll be sitting here.
We'll just have a few minutes break, grab a coffee, and the briefing will be in here. Thank you.